if somebody gets into an argument with you, which happens rarely, but if they do, I can only wish them luck because there is no way of winning that argument because you are very sharp. The observations that I was talking about at the beginning of the conversation, you bring in all of them, and then people absolutely cannot fight.
Very interesting. It's amazing that how much you can actually tell by just reading my handwriting and studying my signature. It's mind-boggling.
Hi there. Thank you so much for tuning into the Absolutely Right podcast once again, a place where we talk about hacks, ways, methods to understand and reclaim the best version of yourself. My name is Aditi Surana. I am a graphologist, a high performance coach, and an anti anxiety expert. One of the most interesting things that I get to do on this podcast is to use this unbelievably accurate method of handwriting analysis, or also known as graphology, to analyze and decode minds which are really performing at their best possible level. People like business leaders, entrepreneurs, change makers, people who we look at and wonder what exactly they must be doing different here that they're successful at this level. We try and decode these people and understand what is their success hack, what do they do to be so productive, and that is the game. If you're ready, then just make sure that you have your handwriting sample next to you, because as I will be talking to today's guest, I will throw some clues here and there for you to analyze your own personality. Our guest on the show today is this young fitness enthusiast who is the president of Baidyanath Group, and through his multiple ventures, he makes sure that he uses the ancient Ayurvedic knowledge in a modern day FMCG product line. To make the most of this conversation, make sure that you keep your own handwriting sample handy, because as I analyze Siddhesh, I will be talking about certain handwriting traits that you can check out in your own writing. In the middle of the conversation, I will do some decoding, debriefing, telling you exactly what you can learn and implement in your day, in your life, to make the most of your situation. Without further ado, let me start with the interview. Hi Siddhesh, welcome to Absolutely Right.
Thank you, Aditi. Really nice to be here. Really nice to see you. I was quite intrigued about what you do and all your sessions. I've been tracking them also. So
Nice.
thank you for inviting me here. It's a real pleasure.
I have this curious question from the time we knew that you are coming on the show. I genuinely want to ask you this.
Sure.
Your parents also gave you that Baidyanath Kadha while growing up?
Absolutely. I am
Yeah.
the
Oh
product of
my
Baidyanath Kada and Baidyanath Chavanprash.
Yeah, right.
That's
I was
why.
like, oh my God, like I have to tell you this. We had to have that Chavanprash and that kadha almost every other day, and my mom kind of counted on it. So thank you guys.
Which is exactly why you look so nice today.
Oh, thank you. All credit goes to the kadha for sure.
100%. It's to Baidyanath. And also, it's a fun story that I'll tell you that all my friends, again, touch wood, they all keep joking around that I never fall sick. And this is since I was a kid. And, during your climate changes and stuff like that, you generally get viral and so on and so forth. And I used to never get it. So there was a joke around me being, this, like having an iron-cladded body. And I used to tell them it's only because of the Chavanprash that I eat every day, and you don't. So I'm a practical example of it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Totally. Point taken. Today we'll be talking about nutrition. We'll be talking about your journey with, the whole exploration with fitness. The most important aspect that I feel that you speak a lot about physical fitness and mental fitness. So when we spoke about your journey, I thought it's like a perfect match to our conversation, because our listeners and viewers constantly try to improve themselves and learn things, hacks and methods.
Of
So
course.
let's get started on that one. What are your ways of looking at fitness at large?
Well, to be honest, I just feel that there's so much content out there these days, right? That people just get
Exactly.
puzzled and confused, and you don't know what to follow, what not to, what's a myth, what's correct, what's not. But my motto has been very simple, and it's worked for me. You can clearly see that.
Yeah.
So it's just simple, listening to your body and making sure that you don't complicate things. You know what's best for you, but yes, follow some basic things, right? I mean, if you're not disciplined, if you're not consistent, I think you will not get results. But if I can tell you 5 pillars, based on which I lead an active or a healthy lifestyle, I may say, our one is first is nutrition. Of course, we've always heard you are what you eat, right? We've heard that so many times, but we don't follow that. I mean, if you're going to eat non-nutritional food, eventually that's what you're going to become.
Sure.
So I would always tell people that you should make sure that you eat balance. You eat your, your nuts, your seeds, your veggies, your protein. Doesn't matter if you're veg or non-veg. You just keep it balanced and eat smart. I mean, that's something which is very important. We're every day falling prey for a lot of marketing gimmicks, right? That brands are actually telling you, and they want you to see that or read that. But we're all educated people, and surprisingly, we tend to not read two lines that are on the label claim on every bottle or any food product that we buy. So
What do you mean?
So I'm putting your attention to anywhere where you see a low calorie or a low sugar claim.
Yep.
When you actually read the label claim, like in a beverage, for example, it would always tell you that how much sugar it has per 100 ml.
Right.
Now, any and every drink today in the market that says low calorie, you will be surprised, and low sugar will have upwards of 7 to 10 grams of sugar per 100 ml. And they're usually a 300 ml bottle or a can.
Right.
So you're having upwards of 20, 25 grams of refined sugar by the claim that says low sugar.
Right.
Because everything is relative. They usually compare it with maybe a soft drink, which may have 15 grams per 100 ml.
Yeah.
And they are the ones you need to stay the furthest from, because they're usually using artificial sweeteners and other chemicals, which are far more detrimental to health than the regular sugar. So things like aspartame is something that you want to look at. Anything that says artificial sweetener, aspartame is one of the ingredients that's usually there because it's the cheapest and the most easily found ingredient.
Okay.
It was actually discovered in a lab when scientists were working on pesticides. So it had no connection with the F&B industry, and yet 80% of all your zero sugar, zero calorie drinks have aspartame.
Oh my God.
So you should stay away from them. We have recently launched a brand called Shunya. As the name suggests, it's zero, where zero is the true hero here. Second is exercising. I think most people just focus too much on food, but they don't focus on exercising and exercising smart. All of us are, we tend to kind of, for example, if you want to lose weight, the first thing that comes to your mind is, okay, let's keep doing cardio sessions and probably spend 60 minutes on a treadmill or, the elliptical and so on and so forth. But the trick is actually that balance that as well and focus on building lean muscle. The more lean muscle you have, men and women, the better it is for you. Because with lean muscle, your body is automatically burning calories and burning fat for you, even while you're sedentary, even while you're sleeping. So, and it doesn't mean there is no excuse that we're in a lockdown and you can't do that, because all you need is a corner in your room and your body weight. So you can just do push-ups, pull-ups, squats, planks, and that's all. So just basic lean muscle, and that will help you in achieving your fitness goals. So exercise smart.
Okay.
Third is sleeping. I'm sure you will agree, Aditi, that that's the first thing we are ready to compromise on also, right? We're like, chalo, 5 days, let's do a Netflix binge, and then on the weekend we will sleep. I don't know. I mean, we just tend to compromise on sleep a lot.
I'm not reacting on that one because sleep is my utmost important thing. If I don't sleep, everybody is aware of it. Everybody in my house, everybody is my team. So one thing I cannot compromise on. So I agree with you completely.
Right. Which is great that you kind of, know your priorities, and you make sure you get your beauty sleep. So what happens is when you're sleeping, at that deep state of rest is when your body is actually in repair mode, in growth mode, your body is healing and regenerating. And we just tend to kind of compromise on that. And we focus usually on the duration, the quantity of sleep, but we need to focus on the quality.
Great.
So small change that I tell everyone that I actually apply in my own life is just keep all screens away. Because these days we're constantly getting that blue light from our either phones or laptops or iPads. So just try and keep them away an hour before you go to sleep. And then you will see that you will get better sleep. And with better sleep, trust me, everything in life will fall in place. And the fourth is stress. I think dealing with stress is very important. And if you're anyways doing those top 3 things right, if you're eating good food and having the right nutrition, you're exercising, you're moving a lot, and you're sleeping well, I think you'll already be in your best physical and mental state to kind of combat any challenge that comes to your life. Right. Stress is a very loosely, I think, used term these days,
Completely.
For anything, we will be like, we're stressed. Don't you agree? in the 90s, if you remember, the word stress didn't even exist in a
Of course.
dictionary. And now even a 10-year-old, I have a 6-year-old niece that might come one day and tell me, you know what, Chachu, I'm really stressed. So I
No, but
just
in
feel
90s we had kadhas, so we can totally.
exactly. We still have Kada, but yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So I just feel that looking at stress as a challenge is better, and that would just change that outlook where it's just a challenge. And if you do things right, if you're in your best physical and mental self, you will be able to deal with that challenge better.
Sure.
So just look at stress as challenge, and I think that will take you a long way. And the last one is being very, very positive, being an optimist, which I know you are, Aditi. While I was doing my homework, I read that you said you are an unshakable optimist,
Yeah.
right? Which is amazing. I mean, I always use the word eternal optimist, but
Mhm.
I've learned a new terminology now, and I'm going to be using that
No,
myself.
please go ahead. And I use that term because I feel when you are on the path to grow and constantly perform higher, you pick up things which make you feel unstable. And there you
So
walk into those unknown territories, and there you claim your optimism, there you claim your mindset. And that's how you keep growing, right? So this is where I feel. And by the way, for stress, for sleeping, we have this wonderful technique of graphotherapy called Kama Sutra Astro Practice, and in our
mhm.
description box, we always mention this because more than 5,000 people in just 1 year have tried it and have dealt with their anxiety, stress, and other mental issues very beautifully. So
Wow,
that's very, very interesting for anybody who wants
wow,
to use handwriting, graphotherapy to solve this problem, because it's not as well known as other things like meditation and all, but it
correct, correct.
definitely helps. So, Siddhesh, I have your handwriting
That's
sample in
interesting.
front of you.
But before we jump into that, I just wanted to tell you that I wanted to congratulate you that everyone has their own passions, and to actually convert that, and you're doing something so unique, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah.
every day that somebody walks out and says, "I'm going to be a graphologist," and you've been able to do that so successfully. And like you
Thank you.
mentioned, 5,000 people right now. You've impacted so many lives positively. So congratulations for that. Really
Thank you
happy to
so
hear
much.
that.
Thank you so much. I feel this is just my duty, and I think we all in my team have signed up to do this as a larger idea. So yes, it is a tougher business to run, tougher concept to
Yes,
explain to people. After 17 years, every now and then I answer this question: What is graphology? How does it work? Does
sure.
it really work? And you really require that level of patience to walk through that journey. So yes, but I think
Correct.
when you're in love, it doesn't matter. I think when
That's
you do it
true. I agree.
as job, as work, it is extremely difficult. But when everything is fair in love and war, right? So that's what happens.
Completely agree. And I'm going to send you a lot more Chawanprash, right? So that will prepare you for the next 17 years to continue to keep answering that
Thank you.
question.
Thank you. So
Yes.
let's get to your handwriting sample. We had asked you to write a sample, which is a paragraph on a blank sheet of paper, unruled sheet
Mhm.
of paper. So your sample is in front of me, and I want to talk about a few things which
Please.
stand out the very moment I look at it. First thing is you are a very good listener. Every time you listen to somebody, you put your heart into your ears, you
Mhm.
observe things very carefully, you're constantly trying to learn from things. You might not agree with that person, you might not feel that what he or she is saying is valid, but you would listen to them, you try and understand. And that eternal curiosity, I feel, has played an important role in your success, in your growth, and also keeping you very, very active mentally, because those observations is your game. Very few people are aware of it. They would say, oh, I told
Mhm.
him and he understood the message and all of that. But the way you observe things is not what people say, but how they say things.
Mhm.
That is very, very exciting and interesting for you.
Thank you. I think I do agree with that. And I just feel that you can learn from everybody around you, right? I think I always tell people that people are your biggest strengths. And
Yep.
all relationships and everyone around you has so much to teach you if you can actually listen, if you can actually observe.
Yep.
So I'm really happy that I get that feedback after you studying my handwriting. Thank you.
And I'm saying this because when you write your lowercase letter e, the loops in that e are well formed. For
Mhm.
anybody where the loops are well formed, it's almost like E for ear, right? So you actually have an ear
Wow,
for detailing, for things that otherwise people miss, and you observe things closely. Now, thereby, because
super
you do
interesting.
that, it is very difficult for others to lie to you. So
Mhm.
you might not tell them that you have caught their lie, but you will always make a note, oh, I don't think this is fitting into the story that they
True.
told me last time. And you
True.
just observe that, make a note of it. And next time when the person comes up with another excuse or another lie, you kind of go around it because you already have that data noted.
Sure. Yes, it makes sense. And sometimes I don't know why, I just feel that in conversations that if I have spotted that, this is incorrect,
Hmm.
just to for the sake of not making that person feel bad, I would be like, okay, let's just move on. I mean, it's not really affecting my life in that manner. So,
Yeah.
and especially if it's in a public forum and if somebody is making a statement or something of that sort, it could be very minor. But that's interesting that you've told me that, Aditi. Yes, because I do just tend to ignore it. I'm like, it's not going
Yep.
to benefit anybody to
No,
bring this out.
sorry, sorry,
Thank you.
sorry. No, no, you do not ignore it. You make a note of it, you just don't act on it.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, I
Yeah.
don't
but
act on it. Yeah,
yeah,
but I
but
definitely make a strong note of it,
yes.
and then my decisions based on that point will obviously then be very different.
Yep.
In the life that I lead, I think high performance is like hygiene, right? I
Right.
need that all the time in my life, be it while I'm trying to work out or running my businesses. So I would love to understand a couple of things from you. So, for
Okay.
example, uh, I sometimes feel that I am a little hard on myself, and when I mean that, so I've been kind of working in my family business and a few startups that I've started off for about 14, 15 years now. But I still feel that I haven't hit that milestone. That's something that will make me very happy and make me content in a manner. I
Mm.
know that I'm always going to keep challenging myself and wanting to kind of rise in whatever I do, but I still struggle in my mind to be rested in that sense that, okay, you are doing your best and that milestone will come today or tomorrow. So
Sure.
that's something what I'm sure you've interacted with so many entrepreneurs and various interesting people. What's your thought on that part?
That's a loaded question, and I want to break it in multiple parts as I answer it.
Sure.
First of all, what do we require in life? What do we want to achieve? Is driven by goals the way we are taught to do it. Now, when I study high performers, one thing I understood that they have connect with something that is their internal pursuit of excellence.
Correct.
In Japanese term, they call it kodawari, where they say, okay, it is not
Mm-hmm.
excellence, but it is personal standard of
Sure.
excellence. So the
Sure.
very moment you set your ground on that one, then you will start
Sure.
looking at, am I matching, hitting my mark or not?
Sure.
Right? Like for example, if you look at athletes, you would definitely connect to this one, that some people can perform really, really well, and others are not as good at with their strength, but they're very good with their flexibility. So
Sure.
everybody and everybody have their own strengths and weaknesses. But if somebody doesn't understand that, and if they only look at the external goal as a marking,
Mm-hmm.
then they will keep striving and struggling. Right, we
Mm-hmm.
want to strive, but we don't want to fall into that struggle path. And that can be done if you know your personal standard of excellence,
Mm-hmm.
and then only you
Makes
can
sense.
evaluate. And in your case, other people can't give that to you because you are highly observant and your ideas are very complex. So when everybody is clapping for you, you look at that and you say, wait a minute, I don't know whether I got that or not. Now I'm going to
Correct.
use handwriting to answer the question further. In your
Mm-hmm.
signature, there is a stroke that comes back and then moves forward.
Mm-hmm.
Any stroke in the writing or signature, when it moves from right side of the page to the left side of the page, it shows that you are highly self-critical.
Mm-hmm.
Now, self-criticism is a habit. It is not about
Right.
how good or bad you do things, it's a habit.
Right.
It means
Okay.
the very moment you find your fault, other people making mistakes, you'll go and figure out what you can do and move forward. How can the project go? But if you make a mistake, there are these reprimanding sessions that happen in person, in
Mm-hmm.
close under behind the closed doors, in front of the mirror if at all. And then you go like, but how could I do this? I shouldn't have done that.
Sure.
Or this is
Sure.
not okay, this was so stupid of me. Whatever vocabulary
Sure.
you use, that might not be the exact words,
Of course.
but when you get reprimanding yourself that harshly, next time when you are about to make a mistake, about to jump into that deep end of the pool, the mind, which is trained and punished in a way, keeps reminding you of that session, that conversation.
That makes sense to me. And if I can interpret it in a manner where I say that in a degree of 1 to 10, if I've done something and I give myself a 7, it's more like I know that I can get to 8,
Yep.
So while I may be getting good responses with that delivery of a 7, I know in my mind that it should have been an 8,
Right.
which is why that keeps, I keep working on that. While I'm absorbing the energy of the delivery of 7 from people or from incidents or situations, I know that in my mind I'm already working on how I could do that better. So that is something that is definitely a trait that I have, I can say. So yeah, I mean, it's quite precise in terms of how you read that in terms of my signature. That's very interesting.
Do you know the most important conversation that you can ever have with anyone is not with your spouse, not with your boss, not even with your child? It is a conversation that you have with yourself when you look into the mirror and tell yourself certain things about your own success and your own failure. It designs the filter through which you look at every single choice in your life. Now, people who have self-critical stroke in their writing fail to keep the space of communicating with themselves nurturing and healthy. They become harsh, they become critical, and they hold on to the smallest mistake that they have committed. The stroke to look for is the underscore or underline in your signature that starts on the right side and moves to the left side, which means the underline starts at the last letter of the signature and starts moving towards the first letter. It also could be a minute stroke in your lowercase t, when the horizontal line on the T starts on the right side and moves to the left side. So it is not as much about the length of the stroke, but the direction of it. So imagine somebody holding a knife in their hand and hurting themselves only because they committed a mistake. That's exactly what the stroke means. If you have this habit of self-criticism, or if you find the stroke in your writing, then you are very difficult to please when it comes to your own performance. So you keep finding faults, and other people cannot do much to keep you happy when you are unhappy in your own mind. Ikigai in Japanese refers to having a reason to wake up every single morning, to connect to the thing that you do, be dedicated to that. Now, Kodavari talks about your personal standard. Every single time you do something that matters to you, if you are following your internal standard of excellence, you can just stay little away from the result of it. And that commitment to stay in the process matters a lot, especially when you are self-critical. So next time you walk down that path and start telling yourself, why didn't you give your best shot? You should have given your best shot. Pause and ask yourself, did you give your best possible shot? If yes, then ask yourself, what else can I do next time when I come to the same point? But do not be only critical, because that communication that you use with yourself and the one which you use against yourself becomes a barrier next time you're confronted with a problem. Think about it. Let's get back to the conversation with Siddhesh right now.
And one question I have while we're on my signature is, since I was like 10 or 12, I have this signature. And back in the day when you're in school, you just want to make something which just looks nice.
Stylish.
And you're like, okay, yes, looks nice. I can show this off to people and look at my friends.
I can turn it into my autograph.
Exactly. Exactly. So I just feel that for me, the kind of person I am, I don't know why. I just feel that I should just change it to just write it in simple terms, because a lot of people do that, and I now envy them, including my mother, that she just puts in her name as Kalpana Sharma as a signature, and that's so stable, right? That's so mature. While I have this beautiful handwriting, no, not a beautiful handwriting. I should say it's a master art of accidents happening at the same time. There's so much going on that only I can do it again, and sometimes even I can't. So how do you interpret that as in terms of signatures, where people have this something very steady versus a graphical design like mine?
That's a great question, because when you look at signatures, it's not about what you chose on the paper. Signature is a subconscious representation of your public image, which means in public you want to be perceived, you want to be seen in a particular manner, and for some reason you might have chosen it at age of 10, but still it was the representation that your mind wanted to stick to. And imagine from that time till now, you could have at any point chosen to change it, but you felt like changing, but you stuck around. You felt like changing, but you stuck around. This is also a choice to stick around something that you believed was essential and important. Now, though it is an artistic signature, going to a simple name may or may not work for everybody. For example, for your mother, if she's writing exactly like her handwriting, so if your signature and your handwriting both of them are identical. That shows that you are the kind of person you are in public and person in private,
Mm-hmm.
the same person. Now,
Understood.
running a business, you cannot afford to do that, right? There
Sure.
are tactics, there are techniques that one
Sure.
requires to use, and it's not a choice in a way. Something as a
Sure.
leadership role, it demands. You cannot give away information to
Sure.
every single person. So you do require some variation. So identical signatures work for people who can afford to be who they are everywhere.
Makes sense.
And
Makes sense.
unfortunately, the way we live our social lives and social media lives and real lives, we cannot carry that identical part,
Makes sense.
but we require
Thank
to
you.
make some changes, and we got to play that and maximize on your strengths and reduce your weaknesses. So those kind of designings are required, but not identical. So some variation done thoughtfully can create amazing results, because signature by itself gives you a persona that you can play with. For example, I'm an introvert, and 80% of my day is about talking and connecting with other people. So if I do not have
Sure.
that in my public image, people will feel the kind of aloofness that I do showcase when I do not want to speak with anybody. But the
Sure.
public image requires certain, in a way, tweaking for you to showcase yourself or be available for the role that you're playing. And those are the benefits of choosing the signature in a specific manner.
Wow. Makes sense. Thank you.
It
And
is
I can
such an
hardly
interesting
believe that you're
topic.
an introvert, by the way.
I
I
know,
can hardly
right?
believe.
But this is acquired, completely acquired,
Well
and
done.
practiced over and over again. So, when we look at your relationship with other people, which you
Mhm.
count a lot on, there are a few things that I want to talk about which you can improve, enhance, and take your empathy, which is your strength already, to the next level.
Mhm.
See, one of the things which we rarely find in leaders is their ability to understand other people's pain, other
Mhm.
people's challenges. And I feel it's a lot, and I would give a lot of credit to your parenting, to the environment that you're brought up in, where these
Thank you.
values were essential. You couldn't have
Sure.
compromised on respecting other people.
Absolutely.
And your dad was particular about it, but also, especially, your mom had very clear standards of not disrespecting others. And thereby, those areas are kind of covered for you when you look at empathy and understanding other people. A few things to keep in mind,
Mhm.
which are great in a way, which also represent your intelligence and go against when it comes to people skills.
Mhm.
Two
Mhm.
things. One, you're very, very direct when it comes to saying things for what they are.
Mhm.
And people so many times can't take it, because they're like, how could you say this for what it is? But you're like, I
Mhm.
care for you, and I got to tell you that you are about to fall into this ditch. And if I don't tell
Right.
you, I won't do justice to our relationship or friendship. But for them, they are expecting you to say things in a softer, in a polite, in a politically correct manner. And
Sure.
if you care for somebody, you cannot do it. It's not like you don't do it, you cannot do it. It is so important for you to stop them, or like protect them, or take care
Sure.
of them, and whatever is the motive. But the way of speaking is very direct, which gets to them. And second, if somebody gets into an argument with you, which happens
Mhm.
rarely, but if they do, I can only wish them luck, because there is no way of winning that argument, because you are very sharp. The observation that I was talking about at the beginning of the conversation, you bring in all of them, and then people absolutely cannot fight that side of your intelligence of arguing.
Very
So
interesting. It's amazing that how much you can actually tell by just reading my handwriting and studying my signature. It's mind-boggling.
I have a question for you. So
Sure.
when you are picking up, the fitness, or we'll talk about your whole passion and love for tennis, what do
Absolutely.
you derive from these physical activities into your business? Do you have any lessons or any things, how we stay with that? Like I got into cooking 2 years ago, and very seriously, very committed to that and that whole
Mhm.
process of cooking. But every time I cook, I learn so much more about my coaching practice. And I always derive one thing from
Correct.
the other. For you, sports and business, how would you combine the two?
I think it's a fantastic question, and thank you for asking that. Because very recently, less than a year ago, I actually took up the challenge of committing into CrossFit as a training, as for my fitness. I was always
Mhm.
into playing tennis competitively early on, and then I was into functional training and strength training, but CrossFit is something that I was introduced to very recently. So
Wow.
when I took this up, I realized that it really humbles you, right? Because when you're learning something new, it's
Totally.
just,
Every
you
single
are
day.
just like, it's impossible for me to do this overnight. And then when I bring that to work, and I also look at a lot of people that are, you know, that are in our team, and you expect a lot out of them,
Mm.
but you also have to be a little patient because that may be CrossFit for them in a way. So
Yeah,
you
well
kind of
said.
also get a little more patient, and you get humbled that, you know, you can't do everything also, and you need to be more patient, and overall just relax and just take your time and
Or in a
work on
way,
it.
create regimes for them to build their capacity.
Correct. Create small CrossFit sessions in a way which can also take them there. So that is one thing, and another is every time you get past a CrossFit ward, which is workout of the day,
Right.
you are you're absolutely physically gone. I mean, your heart rate's at 190,
Right.
and you know that's when you are in that zone when your heart rate's above 180 per minute is
Yep.
when you get into that dark zone where you're just with yourself, and you can really compete. You can really understand what you're all about. Like, what's that energy that you bring then? So if you can actually manage to complete that ward for the day, when
Mm.
you go to the office, you know, I have been able to combat my CrossFit ward and I
Yep.
came out just alive. That just gives you the power and the energy, the endorphins to
Mm.
kind of compete with anything, to kind of basically take up your day for in your tasks in the office. And obviously in work, when you're running businesses, there are challenges every day, but no challenge is something that you can't surmount or you can't face with all your spirit. So I
And
think with
especially
sport,
after doing a CrossFit session, you know that you thought it's
100%.
impossible and you could do it, you could
You
survive.
could manage to survive. Yes. So I feel with sport, and I think any sport, and which is why I'm going back to that exercising point that I mentioned to you earlier on this podcast, that it's very important because I think that really builds you. That
Right.
that gives you a lot of mental and physical strength to kind of deal with other challenges in your life. So I highly recommend it, and I want people to kind of ensure that
Yeah.
forget CrossFit. That's something that they should try and do, but at least ensure that they keep moving, they keep exercising, and they're living an active life. That's what's very important. So I urge everybody who's listening to this podcast to just make sure
Great.
that everything everything comes second. First is yourself, right?
And
And
your body
you
and your
mentioned
health.
absolutely, and you mentioned mental health, which is so critical. That self love is again something that I talk about a lot to people when I get an opportunity to. That you need to learn to love yourself, right? And that's when you will be happy, right? It's almost borderline being selfish, but that's okay because if you're not happy, nobody around you, be it your family, your friends, or your work colleagues, your
True.
team members, everybody is going to just not get the best out of yourself if you are not able to be happy. So I think being mentally happy and in a good place is equally important, and we should all focus on that a lot.
I'm just looking at your writing while you're talking about it. The way you write your letter A and O, they do not have any loop inside. They're like very clear formations. It talks about somebody who is very clear at heart, which is a very rare quality. So please
Thank
keep
you.
that. And especially when I
Thank
meet
you.
a leader, an entrepreneur who is that clear at heart, which means it's not only the intent that you present to people as your goal or as your mission, but you really mean it. So very few times you meet people who want to do what they do because they want to make a difference. Most of the time people want to do it with so many other reasons and
Sure.
nothing right or wrong about it, but just to have that clarity in the heart and intent which is pure or clear is very rare, and I'm very happy that you have it and you are pretty much making the most of it. So
Thank you. That
that's
that means
amazing.
a lot. That means a
That's
lot to me.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So before we let you go, we have to know about your story with the greatest people on this planet when it comes to the game of tennis. Please tell
Sure.
us what happened, how did you manage to do it, and what was that experience like?
I completely agree with you. They are I think, the biggest stars and legends of the game.
Yep.
And if naming Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic, I think being a tennis player myself, growing up and playing competitively, I managed to win the silver medal in the Indian national games when
Wow.
I was 17. So I truly have not only enjoyed the sport, but I've played the sport. So what I mean to say is that I have a very different passion and liking for it. I mean, I often tell the world that a lot of me today is because of tennis. You know, that's what my life was growing up. So to actually be around and have an opportunity to meet the legends like Roger, Rafa, and Novak was in itself fantastic. I mean,
Of
it
course.
was something that was once in a lifetime for me. So I will tell you three really funny things about all three of them, and incidents that I will take to my grave. That interestingly, when this happened and when they were in India and I happened to meet them, I also happened to play with them because
What?
and they didn't know that I was a tennis player at all. So when they were practicing, I very cheaply took my tennis racket and I started hitting the ball, and they were like, "Okay, we didn't know that you play." But then I said, "Yes, I do a little bit." So while they were just warming up, I could just hit with them, and that eventually led me to this moment where we were doing the tennis match, because this was a league, right, where there was a bench where all the team players and myself, we had the luxury to sit there, and this wasn't for fun, but during an intense moment during the match,
Hmm.
Roger actually came to me along with the team captain and asked me for a suggestion
No.
as a strategy decision. I was like, "Are you guys kidding me? Are you like literally just trying to pull my leg here?" So I looked around and I looked back at them, and they were literally serious. I was
Oh my
like, "This
God.
can't be happening." So it just tells you how humble, I mean, a guy like Roger
Awesome.
can also be, right? So it's something that I will never forget.
Oh my God. You
But
cannot forget this one. This is like something,
oh,
as you rightly said.
absolutely right up there. And the best thing is that they took my suggestion and we won that match. So I'm
Wow.
very happy. So we talked about it post the match also. So these things also got me kind of closer to them as people, right? And otherwise you're just looking at them in a very different light all the time. So we
Yeah.
could relate to each other. It's again because of the sport. With Rafa, again, he looks so powerful, right? I mean, he's like this uh, very strong personality on
Yeah,
court,
to a point
but
of
off
feeling
court.
scared.
Absolutely right. But he's the most gentle guy that you will ever meet. Very, very soft and sensitive. He will ensure that he takes care of everyone around him. He's very soft spoken. He's almost shy, which is amazing. I mean, you can't imagine a
Yeah.
guy like him who's so expressive on the court to be so shy.
I'm sure his signature would be saying all of this and his handwriting would be all different. Probably there's a key. I got to look at that.
I need to WhatsApp and get him to write a sheet the way I did for you.
Please do. Please do. That would be
That'll be
great.
amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so yes, that was super interesting to see, a different side of Rafa. And one interesting thing that I'll tell you is that he's very superstitious on court, and he keeps his water bottles while he's seated in the exact very place. He just has to be following that meticulous process all the time. But during this league, there was no time, so he couldn't really do that. So he had to improvise. So he was actually joking with his teammates that, "Oh my God, I can't play. I'm not able to actually do my regular tennis stuff here." So that in itself was so funny. And he said, "This is actually going to change the way I actually play in the professional league."
Oh my God.
So that was massive that, certain small things that I could witness live that he's going to
Wow.
change in his game when he's going to play professionally at the Wimbledon finals, for example. So that was super interesting. And very quickly with Novak, I mean, he's the most fun person that you will ever meet. Again, very humble. I think that's the commonality between all the legends in any sport or in I think, at any field in the world.
Any walk of
So
life, pretty much.
any walk of life, completely agree. So when Novak was playing and he was just practicing, so I was just around and I kind of bowled like a cricket bowl, like I was bowling at him when he asked for the ball, and he would immediately change his racket, and he would overturn his racket and play it like a cricket shot. And eventually he started doing that constantly during that 7 8 days
Right.
that we were together, and we were trying to learn cricket, because he, obviously being a Serbian, didn't know too much about the sport. So
Right.
we had a conversation, and his eagerness to learn about the sport was immense. So we had a few laughs around that.
That's amazing. Oh my God. All these stories are so beautiful and powerful. Like if
Thank
you
you.
ever get to writing a book, I'm sure your book will be filled with all of these experiences.
100%. Absolutely. I mean, I think all these instances with these people have made me like learn a lot, and definitely teach me how to be modest. It was
Sure.
incredible.
That's
I was
amazing.
just
And
quietly noticing all these things.
that's
Like you
amazing.
said, I observe people a lot.
Yeah. So on that note, where we began the whole conversation with observation and great listening skills, I think your stories just wove all the points that we made together and just brought that listening skill and observational skill to the next level altogether. Thank you
Superb.
so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us on this episode of Absolutely Right. This is
Thank
great.
you so much. Thank you so much, Aditi. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Absolutely Right. Did you find the letter E in your writing? How about the self-castigation stroke? If you think graphology is as fascinating as I think it is, then you must join our graphology masterclass. In this 1 month online course, I talk about 20 different factors. You can analyze your spouse, your child, the new employees that you're hiring, and most importantly, you can know yourself, which I feel is invaluable. If you think you had this moment of realization hearing this conversation, something that just felt like a penny drop moment, do share your experience on my email ID, WRIT at aditisurana.com. If you'd like your organization to go through this assessment process, if you want me to coach the leaders, if you want to get coached yourself, you can know more about that on my website, aditisurana.com. I will see you on Friday with a short episode which is based on journaling to create actual shift in your behavior. Till then, happy writing!